Welcome to the Lessons from Leaders podcast. I'm your host, Brian Beckcom. Well, I hope everyone is enjoying the latest episodes in 2021, the last three episodes, The Colonel, an interview with Edwin Augustus Beckcom, Why We Do What We Do, an interview with Professor Robert Hanson, and Inside the 100-Year Decision, an interview with Bowen Lofton, have all been three of the most popular episodes we've released. And so I encourage you, if you hadn't had a chance to listen to them, go back and listen to them when you get a chance. They're really unbelievable, and that's because my guests are unbelievable. And now, without further ado, my next guest is Joe Big Money Wilbert III. Joe grew up in Bryan, Texas, and ended up playing Division I basketball at Texas A&M, where he was a star. Joe never thought he'd end up at Texas A&M, and in this podcast, he tells a story about how he chose his college. After college basketball, Joe played professional basketball, and then after his basketball career was over, he's been a true leader in the community. He's worked as a supervisor for over 40 juvenile detention officers. He's run his own home building business, and now he's working as a college basketball referee. Joe also has a son playing college basketball right now. Joe Wilbert is one of the wisest men I know. In the show, Joe and I talk about what it's like as a high-level athlete raising athletic kids, how some people force their kids to play sports even when they don't want to, what advice he gives parents when they have kids who are very interested in sports. We talk about how Joe developed his toughness and how the next generation of kids will develop that level of toughness too. We talk about the incident in Lubbock when the idiot Texas Tech fans attacked the Texas A&M head basketball coach, and Joe came to their defense. I did not know that the Lubbock Police Department issued a warrant for Joe's arrest after that incident, which is one of the stupider things I've ever heard in my life. And we talk about what happened with all that. We talk about race relations. We talk about the hardest types of games that Joe has to referee. We talk about life in general, his philosophy, and what advice he gives to people looking for leadership tips. This was a tremendous show. I think you're going to get a lot out of this. And now I give you Joe Wilbert III. Hey, everybody. Brian Beckcom here. And I have got Joe Wilbert III. Joe, man, how the heck are you doing? It's great to see you.
I'm doing great. Brian. First, I want to thank you for thinking enough for me to put me on your show today.
Yeah, well, to say I think a lot of you would be an understatement. And I tell you, Joe, I was thinking about this morning. You and I are kind of the polar opposites of college basketball athletes. I played in 8 games. I was a preferred walk-on, scored 2 points. And you were good enough to play professional. And, one of the things that I've always thought is if you're, whatever it is you're doing, whether it's sports or anything else, if people are willing to pay you to do what you do, you are pretty damn good at what you do. I mean, people pay me a lot of money to be a lawyer, but they do not pay me. They never pay me any money to play basketball. But you got paid to play professional basketball, and then you've since gone into business. You were a supervisor for a juvenile detention group. You supervised 40 juvenile detention officers. You're also an entrepreneur. You're a home builder, and interestingly, you're an NCAA basketball ref. So I want to talk about a lot of those things, Joe. But before we get into that, you got 3 boys, one who's, I think, 18, 19 now, and then you got 2 6-year-olds.
No, he's 21.
21, okay. So how's your family doing, man?
Doing great. Well, first off, to kind of rebuttal your statement about being a walk-on, just know that you play the important role because you got guys like me ready for in practice.
Absolutely.
Except for our opponents. So please don't take too much credit away from yourself. Also been an athlete. Then secondly, people don't realize a walk-on is an athlete because everyone cannot be a walk-on. So come on, man, don't shoot you down. So don't shoot yourself down too bad. As for me, I'm blessed to have 3 boys. Romello, he's a junior at East Central Oklahoma.
Okay.
And then I have my 2 twin boys who's 6 years old. So kids-wise, that's where I'm at. I got 3 boys, and I wish I had a little girl, but hey, so I already know when I turn 70, 75, 80 years old, I'm going straight to the nursing home. If it's up to my boys to take care of me. So that's the only bad thing about having 3 boys. I know I'm going straight to the nursing home.
Joe,
well, in that, hey, it's great to know that your name will carry on for at least a couple more years.
For sure. Joe, I'm laughing really hard right now because my dad used to tell me the exact same thing. I've got a younger brother and adopted older brother, and he goes, man, I know that when I get older, since I ain't got no daughters, I don't have anybody to take care of me.
Yeah, I'm going straight to the nursing home, buddy.
I have 2 boys, and then I have a 12-year-old daughter. And I got to tell you, growing up around all boys, my mother died when I was 10, so it was all boys in the house. And so I didn't really grow up around girls. But, man, having that little girl, I mean, I might not have to go to the nursing home as early as you will, man. Right?
Exactly.
Well, Joe, let me ask you.
Man, come visit me.
Yeah. Let me ask you this question because I've asked quite a few people this question. Matter of fact, I asked Bucky Richardson this question. So Bucky's got a son who is a senior in high school now, who's committed to Oklahoma State as a wide receiver, which is a big deal. You've got a son, I think, who is playing college basketball right now. Is that true, Romello?
Yes.
So tell us, and you were a high-level athlete. You were probably around a bunch of parents that in youth sports it could get a little crazy, and then you're probably around parents that never show up. And so as a high-level athlete, Joe, what did you do in terms of encouraging – your son's name is Romello, right?
Yeah, Romello.
What did you do to encourage him, to give him that spark? Like, how did you think of raising an aspiring athlete?
Well, I want you the words encouragement. Hello. So when you're a former athlete like me, because every time you go somewhere, kids, people always say, "Oh man, that's your father. When he played at A&M. He was like this." So my big thing that I did with Romello, Brian, and I preached to him this from day one was just be who you are.
Yeah.
Just be you.
Yeah.
It's a lot of pressure. Well, there's a lot of pressure on the kid to always hear that his father was a great basketball player, his mother was a great basketball player. So what I did was I took that pressure off Romello as best as I could.
Nice.
I like Romello, man, just be the best you can be.
Yeah.
And so I always encourage him to just be you, son. And and sometimes I think they played against him because people used to see him and be like, well, you don't. So you don't have the same dog mentality that your father had. But hey, you understand, it's a whole different generation too. So
no doubt, man.
But I tell him all the time, Brian, I'm proud of you. I tell him all the time, I say, son, you don't have to score one bucket. You don't have to play 1 minute of college basketball, but you will be a very respectable young man.
That is awesome. But Bucky said the same thing. Bucky said, when my son comes home, I'm just his dad. I'm just telling him I'm proud of him. Yeah.
So I'm gonna raise you the same way my father raised me. At the end of the day, I don't care if you work at McDonald's. You know what I'm saying? I mean, not against anybody who work at McDonald's or Walmart or Exxon or Shell.
Yeah. But
you will be a respectable young man. You will carry yourself in a great way, and you will not embarrass my last name.
Well,
so other than that, hey, the basketball to me, the basketball career don't mean anything to me.
Yeah.
Like I tell my son every day, you don't have to score not one bucket to me. I'm gonna love you regardless.
Nice. Well, you said something earlier there, Joe, in that comment that I've searched for a little bit and talked to some of my friends about, and that is, you did have a hard-nosed mentality, and you know what? So did I. As a matter of fact, I got in a fight with Tony Baroni Jr. as a walk-on during practice because and Tony's a friend of mine. Tony Jr. is a friend of mine, but I had that attitude, and I think it came from the way I was raised by a single father, so I had this kind of killer mentality. I mean, when I stepped on the court, man. Yes. I was coming to get you. And so I worry, sometimes a little bit. I don't know if worry is the right word, but I think about Romello and my kids. I got 2 boys and a girl. They've grown up with some privilege, with more privilege maybe than I had growing up, and maybe same with you. And so, for me, and maybe for you, and you tell me if I'm thinking about this right, you kind of had this fire in your belly, this kind of intensity. And so I sometimes I wonder where kids that grow up in a privileged environment get that intensity. My dad used to say, the people I respect the most are people that come from nothing and make something of themselves, and the people that are given a lot and take advantage of the opportunities they're given. Because if you're given a lot, sometimes it's easy not to take advantage of those opportunities. So have you ever thought about like where it was that Joe Wilbert's mentality came? Where did that intensity come from?
It came from my brother Milton, my older brother Milton.
Okay.
My brother Milton did not let me back down from anyone in our neighborhood. He never accepted me coming in second place. He just never accepted me just losing. So my brother Milton, my older brother, he played an important role in that. He made the guy that I am today as being tough and being gritty. And my brother was the smallest guy on the block. But he was the toughest one. Nobody did mess with him.
How could he be the smallest guy on the block? You're 6'6", aren't you?
Yeah, I know, but he's real skinny. He got a small frame on him, but nobody did mess with him. So my brother Milton was he was my hero. He was my Superman. He was my role model. He was all of that until I got older in life. As from a standpoint of then, Coach Barry Davis took over as being my, my fiscal role model at the time. And then Brian, I had both my parents in the house, my mother and father.
Yeah.
But as a kid, you think your parents and mothers is always on you. So with that being said, my brother Milton, he raised me. Then plus I came from East Park, my neighborhood. Well, back then, Brian, we played, and you know this. So when you lost, I mean, you might well go home because you're not coming back up until 2 or 3 other more games. And
yeah.
That might be 30 or 45 minutes. So
yeah, for
lose.
sure. I hated that, man. I did not like losing those pickup games.
But Brian, so the best advice I can give you about your kids, and probably Bucky told you the same thing, is just leave that alone. Yeah. They are not going to have our mentality. So you might as well just enjoy how they are and let them get it for themselves because trust me, that was one of my mistakes that I made with Romello starting out. Yeah. It's like, Romello, you need to do this.
Yeah.
Don't let him score again. It was more like, Joe, that's not his mentality. So, so that's your mentality. So that's really why I stopped training Romello. I stopped training him.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to be his father, not his trainer.
Yeah.
So
there's a difference too between the two.
Yeah.
There's a big difference between the two, right?
Yeah, because I get in the car, like we come from training, and then we in the car talking. Then I might get on about something in training. So we in the car, we quiet. We ain't talking. He ain't talking to me. I'm not talking to him. I'm mad at him. You know what I'm saying? Vice versa, he mad at me. Yeah. And I was like, you know what? I want to enjoy my son last 3 years of basketball. So after this freshman year, I left him alone.
Nice.
I just said, hey, look at. So I sat back and I stayed a father, and it was the best decision I made. Not saying that I couldn't do both of them, but I just know how I am, and then I knew it would just play the issue because his mom used to always be like, well, ease up off of him. And I was like, you know what? I think it's best for us, for me to be a father and just watch him play, and I enjoy every moment of it.
I had some times with my oldest son, who was a very, very good basketball player when he was in middle school. He just found out he made the varsity basketball team Memorial, which is pretty big deal because they got 2,000 plus students, only 5 juniors made it. But the head coach at Memorial used to say, listen, parents, just be their parents when they get home, because they're getting an earful from me every day in practice. They don't want to come home and get an earful from their dad. And so it took me a little while to realize that, because I kind of did the same thing you did, Joe. I mean, there were some times in middle school where I thought my son was playing like a wimp, and I'd get on him and I'd say, man, you got to get tough. I remember I took him to an AAU tryout one time that I don't think he was prepared for. He was the only white kid in the gym. He had never been as part of this program. these kids are out there. They're really good basketball players. They're super intense. And he wimped out and he literally walked out of the gym. I had to go get him in the parking lot. He's like, Dad, I don't want to do this. I said, no, you're getting back in there. You're going to finish this. You don't have to come back, but you're going to finish this practice. Yeah. And you know what? He went in there and he kicked ass. He did really good. So, but nowadays, it's to the point now where I'll bet like Romello and my oldest son, his name is Augustus. We call him Gus. He's gotten to the point now where his motivation comes from inside. It's not coming from his coaches or his parents. It's coming from him, which I think is the best kind of motivation, right?
Exactly.
So if you're telling your son, do this, do that, do this, do that, they're naturally, especially if it's your dad, they're going to push back a little bit, right?
Yeah, Then plus, like I told his mom, I'm gonna start pushing him because this might be something that Romello don't want, but I want for him.
Exactly.
So I wanted to make sure. So I stopped. Like, so let me give you a prime example. His mother should always, Joe, well, why you haven't shot with Romello in the last 2 weeks? Because you have not called me and asked me to shoot with him.
Yeah, exactly.
Because now, if I call and say, Romello, let's go shoot, guess what? So now he probably going somewhere where he don't want to be at the moment.
Yeah.
So that's the things that I did when it was. I said, you know what? Until he called me, so we're not going to go shoot. Because, bro, sometimes as parents, we push stuff on our kids that they don't want.
Yeah.
And I seen this coming up, and then I noticed just being a juvenile probation officer. If you push your kids to something they don't want to be, then what they don't do is they don't start doing drugs or something to get some negative attention to get out what they're doing. So by knowing that, so that's the reason why I stepped away. So when it came to me taking them to go shoot, I wait till he called because I don't want nobody to watch this and say, well, he gave up on his child. No, that wasn't the case. I just don't want to push him to do something that he don't want to do. Then I don't want him to hate what he's doing. Then also hate me in the process of making him doing that. So what I did, I just stepped back.
Yep.
Let him. So now, guess what, Brian? He started calling me, hey, Dad, let's go shoot. And I was loving every moment of it. Now, because there were times I took him, I know he didn't want to be shooting because he wanted to go hang out with his friends or he wanted to play these video games they got now. Or he just so as a parent, it's a thin line of should I or should I not? Yeah. But everyone kids are different. And then Brian, out there I do is give you advice and the people that listen advice that hey, just know your kid. Just know they're limited when it comes to pushing them as. But you don't want to push them too hard. And then you push them too hard, then they might do something that you don't want them to do something stupid.
Yep. Just
to stop doing, like, you know what? I'm going to go steal something out this store because if I know if I go steal something, then I don't have to play basketball no more because my parents don't kick me off the team or something. And you sure don't want that. So, kids, man, it's a touchy and situation because of the way times are.
Yeah.
Back then when we was coming up, Brian, our parents told us to go sit down. We went sit down. Now these kids now, I ain't sitting down. These kids now. But if you whoop me, I'm gonna call CPS. And you know, there's so much crazy stuff going on in this world now, and so much bad influence. Like, I mean, Brian, I grew up in a neighborhood where if I went down the street and played with Vince and D now, D mom and Vince mom can whoop me.
Yeah.
And then I went back home and I got another whoop for acting a fool at Vince and D house. My mom said, no, you don't embarrass me like that at nobody else's house. Now, you do that now?
Oh
my God.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Well, it used to be like where I grew up, we wouldn't even lock our front doors. I lived kind of out in the country, but we all ran over to each other's house and we all jumped in each other's pools. And it seemed like it was a little bit of a safer, everybody was looking out for each other. And, the moms were all looking out for the kid, all the different kids, not just their own kids. But I want to get back to something you said earlier in your comments about how I think we all know that some parents, and we know kind of know it when they see it, they live through their own kids' sports. Like maybe they didn't have quite the sports that they wanted, and so now they're kind of living through their own sports. And you know, one of the things that I think about, I wasn't nearly as good of a basketball player as you were, but I was first team all district, made state finals, was on a very good team, went to playoffs 3 years, and then got to play with you guys for a year at A&M. One of the things that I've realized, and I have had to be real careful, is my sons, I've got 2 boys, my sons are not going to have the same path that I do. It's going to be a different path. They're not going to be doing what you and I were doing, playing basketball 7 days a week, going out playing pickup 4 hours on Saturday, just like you said. You know, if you don't keep the court, you're gone for 45 minutes. They're just not, it's just different times, and that's not what they're going to do. And, you know, I caught myself 3 or 4 years ago, Joe, kind of imposing what I thought was the proper path for my son on him, rather than just letting him find his own path. So what do you think about that, Joe?
Oh, man, that's the best decision, man. I talk about this all the time. Man, there's so many fathers who live through their kids.
Yeah.
And I see it all the time. And every kid who has that type of father is never successful. I haven't seen one yet. Now, I haven't seen one yet, because that father lives through that son, and he's pushing that kid too much.
Yep.
And then, Brian, if you go back and look at it, most kids who are good, like when they're young, by 16, they junior year in high school, they senior year, people didn't caught up with them. You know why? Because they already done. They already meet their peak.
Yeah.
But they started too early.
Yep.
That's why I advise people now, they be like, man, let your child enjoy basketball until they get about around the 7th or 8th grade, then start training them. But when they 11 and 13, 14 years old, man, let them enjoy basketball.
Yeah.
So, but as that's a touchy subject with me, because I see a lot of fathers live through their kids, and man, and them kids are very frustrated with that.
Well, and you know, so my favorite basketball player when I was younger was a guy named Rex Chapman, who was a guy that played at Kentucky. And, you know, Rex Chapman played in the NBA. He was a phenomenal basketball player. His dad was a basketball coach, and his dad, I've heard stories about, Rex would come home and he'd score 35 points, get 12 rebounds and 6 assists. And his dad would say, why'd you turn the ball over twice? That kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's not good.
And Rex ended up, I don't know if you know this, but after he got out of basketball, he ended up with a very bad drug problem. He was addicted to pills. Yeah. He got busted trying to steal computers out of an Apple store. He's since redeemed himself. Oh yeah. He's big on Twitter. And he's talked about
I know. I see him on Twitter because I follow him, because he be putting a lot of stuff about people getting hearing for the first time.
Yeah.
So he put a lot of stuff on this. It's positive on that.
He's a great Twitter follower, but the point is once he was done with sports, because maybe partly because of the way his dad was to him, he kind of didn't have anything left, and he really struggled a lot. Now he's kind of turned it back around, and he's doing well. But the point, you know, one of the things that I think about a lot, Joe, is our kids are not going to be playing sports the rest of their life, at least not organized sports. I mean, we're not, what are we doing here? We're not teaching them to be athletes for the rest of their life. We're teaching them to be good people. And so, you know, I really worry sometimes. I see some of the parents, and there's only so much you can say to them, that are just so hard on their kids. You know, I just feel bad for the kids. And, you know, I kind of look over at the dad, and I'm just thinking to myself, do you know what you sound like, man? You know, what are you thinking over there, man? You're maybe your son will be the starting shortstop for 2 years on the high school baseball team, but he's going to resent you for the rest of his life because of the way you're acting towards him, right? Yeah.
So now you are, everything that you're saying, Brian, is what I was saying earlier about every I step back from Romello.
Yeah.
As from training him and stuff like that, because I never wanted my son to feel, and not saying this in a negative way, but my son turned out to like Rex Chapman did that. So,
yeah,
man, my father did so much to me, because I know some guys that I grew up with that turned out the same thing like Rex did.
Yeah,
they started doing drugs. One with the prison, one smoked drugs a lot because of their father was too hard on them.
Yep.
Kids scored 20 points. Father be like, well, you should have had 24. You should have had 26. Why you missed them free throws? And, come on.
Yeah.
So it's you're right, Brian. That's that's tough. And then I be at the gym with some of them at the gym. I used to sit there all the time. I be like, man, this dude is living through his son so much.
Yeah.
Soon the game over, he'll grab his son and just be like talking to him and just like, dude. But hey.
Well, Joe,
then,
that also ties into a conversation I hope we can have here in a little bit, and that has to do with your career as an NCAA basketball official and some of the way the fans act. But before we get into that, talk about you. So you grew up in Bryan, Texas. Talk a little bit about how you ended up at Texas A&M on the basketball team.
Brian, now you want the truth or you want the fairy tale story?
I want the truth.
I'm gonna tell you the truth.
You can't handle the truth. No,
I never ever in my life dreamed I would be going to Texas A&M.
Really?
I always envisioned myself going to Prairie View because my sister Linda went to Prairie View and all my cousins went to Prairie View from Bryan. So I thought I'd go to Prairie View, just go get a degree and turn out to be a great guy. So started playing basketball at the Boys and Girls Club, well, at the time the Boys Club in Bryan. And so started playing basketball. I was pretty good. No big deal. Then I got in high school. My sophomore year at Bryan High. I started off on JV. Then I got moved up to varsity during the Christmas tournament. You know, in high school, Brian, you know, somebody always don't get moved up during Christmas, during Christmas tournament. So I was that one guy. So I was happy. I got the varsity shoes. You know, I got the varsity traveling warm up. So I was just happy. I didn't care if I played 1 minute or 1 second.
Felt like you were in the NBA probably, right?
Yeah. So our first game we playing in Waco. We playing against Dallas Kimball. We getting beat by 30 some points.
I played Kimball in high school too when the Sasser brothers were playing for Kimball. Yeah.
So Coach Davis said, man, just go in the game. So we losing so bad. I scored like 20 points.
Nice.
And then just took off from there. And so I say all to say is it took off from there. I'll be the first one to admit. And I tell people this all the time. If I play against 100 people, Brian, 99 people was better than me. But they have a bigger heart than me, and I was not going to let them beat me.
Yep.
That was the only difference between me. They was not going to beat me. And I just have to get good. I mean, it's no hidden formula. It's nothing that I did drill-wise. It wasn't nothing. It was just my upbringing and just my motivation I had within inside myself was I was not going to lose to the guy in front of me.
Yep.
And so the process of having that mentality, I got good. I mean, so I went from Bryan High to Tyler Junior College. We're the first team ever in JUCO history to go to Hutchinson, Kansas. It's like the Final Four for JUCO, under 500.
Really?
We was like 16 and 15. So we went in our tournament.
You won your tournament. You must have won your tournament, right?
Yeah, we won our tournament. So we won our tournament. It's the 8th seed. We were tied with 3 teams for the 8th seed. And the only reason why we got in because we beat St. Jack. So that broke the tiebreaker. And we played St. Jack in the first round, so we beat them. So then we beat Alvin in the second round. Then in the championship game, so we Angelina to go to the Hutchinson, Kansas. So I get to Hutchinson, Kansas, and I get there where Mississippi State, Texas A&M, and UTSA was my final 3.
Nice.
I get to Hutchinson, Kansas. Clemson come knocking on my door. Kansas State come knocking on my door. I had all types of students come knocking on my door because, you know, like in Hutchinson, that's a nationwide, so all coaches come there.
Yeah.
But I had I had my 3 places I was going because I've been through this recruiting process before, and I ain't want to go through all them 5 visits and all that.
Yeah.
Telling me what I want to hear at the time. So Mississippi State, A&M, and UTSA. I hate to say this, Aggie Land, but I was going to Mississippi State. I was signed and sealed, ready to go. That's where I was going.
Yeah.
I was going to Mississippi State. My mom called the coach, Coach Williams, Richard Williams at the time, because she wanted to talk to him. So when Mom called him, she said, "Hey, I just wanted to visit with you about the school." At the time, Coach Williams was mowing his grass. And so when he answered the phone, he said, "You bothering me. I'm mowing my grass at the time."
Mm.
You can't tell a black mom that she bothered her about her own child. So my mom was like, "No way, you're not going to Mississippi State." And
oh man!
Make a long story short, it's the best thing I ever done, Brian, because coming to Brian inspire people like Darryl Mason and other kids who's in the area. That if a kid from East Park, from the same street that you travel down every day down Martin Luther King, with the Carver Kemp, with the Brown High, with the Anderson Jones, can walk them same hallways and make the Texas A&M, you can do the same too.
Nice.
And after it's all said and done, I'm glad that God made that situation happen. I'm saying for me to go to A&M, because I'm telling you, I never dreamed of going to A&M. And a subject that I don't know, don't say that you're gonna touch, but like the subject that the instant I got into it in Lubbock.
Let's hold off on that for 1 second, because I definitely want to talk about that. I had that on my list of things to talk about. But Joe, what's interesting to me there's two things that kind of stand out to me about what you're saying right now. One of which is people in the stands watching Texas A&M play basketball, seeing a guy like Joe Wilbert would have never thought that Joe Wilbert had any lack of confidence or any belief that he wouldn't be good enough to play at A&M. Hey, we just assume a guy like you, big, strong guy who's a talented athlete, would think, man, I can do anything. But just like everybody else, you had your doubts and your questions too. And then the other thing that sticks out to me a lot, Joe, is, when I look back on my life, there were a couple things that happened that at the time I thought were bad. And it turned out they were some of the best things that ever happened to me. For instance, I was applying for a job at a law firm that I didn't get. And I was so upset about it. I could not believe it. I thought, I knew the head person and thought I was a shoo-in. And if I would have gotten that job, I wouldn't have met my current law partner, who I've been partners with for 16 years. So, it's interesting, that Mississippi State story, because essentially you were probably like, what the heck, man? I thought I was committed. I was ready to go play for the Bulldogs. And now all of a sudden the coach acts like this to my mom. And, now I got to make a different decision. But it sounds like it ended up turning out, a lot better for you anyway, right?
And Brian, the fun thing is, nobody didn't know that story till today.
Really?
Yeah,
nice. I love that.
I never told nobody. Nobody never. So somebody might see the story and be like, well, he really not a true Aggie.
No, come on.
But trust me, I'm a true Aggie.
Yeah. No. I have no question in my mind about that.
No, but and then the fun thing about Mississippi State, they went to the Final Four that year with Eric Dampier.
Did they really? Wow.
Yes.
Nice.
And then the guy who had my spot, he was a walk-on.
Really?
At the 3. Yes.
Wow. God, small world, man. Unbelievable.
So, and the only negative thing about me playing at A&M, there was the only negative things, Brian, about me playing at A&M was I played out of position.
Yeah.
And it affected me at the next level.
Yeah. Talk about that. Talk about that a little bit more. What do you mean?
But I know, but a testimony to Coach Baroni. After my junior year, we talked about it. So he moved me to the 3 spot. Because Cal Kessler was the guard. Tony McGinnis was the 2. I was the 3.
Yeah.
John Stevens was the 4, and Damon Johnson was the 5.
Yeah.
And Coach Baroni was not happy with them, Johnson and Stevens at the moment. I think it was more Stevens that he wasn't happy with. So he was like, Wilbert, I need to move you back to the 4. Because that's one thing I talked to him about was, hey, Coach Baroni, man, look at me. I'm trying to play at the next level.
Yeah. And
all the scouts telling me that, they didn't see me shoot. I shot it in high school. I shot it at at Tyler Junior College, so I'm gonna shoot at A&M. So that whole summer, I worked on my 3-point shot.
Yeah.
My wrist, and so that's one of the things that I kind of, you know, I don't use the word hate because the Bible said don't use that word, but I dislike that I played in the wrong. I played in the wrong position, but you know, hey, I did what I need to do for my team, and so at the next level, it hurt me, but hey, you know,
you made a sacrifice for the team
yes,
that you knew at the time, and you said like you said, you even talked to Coach Baroni about it. You knew it was going to affect your ability to play professional basketball, at least initially, but you did it anyway. So, and you know, that's a great point, Joe, because
so not cutting you off.
Yeah, go ahead.
Brian, and I said his name before. He said my career would have been like PJ Tucker.
Yeah.
I was a PJ Tucker player. I was a bulldog, and I. I'm saying, so I was trying to be like a PJ Tucker player at the time. That I had been worked on my jump shot, but I was, because you think about when PJ was at A&M, at Texas, he played the 4. I think.
Yeah, sure did.
So like PJ Tucker is a guy I look at now and be like, man, that's where my career would have been in the league if Kurt Ronnie would have played me at the 3 spot.
Yeah. Well, and you know what I was going to say is it's you know, I think this is my 30th show now. I've interviewed some phenomenal people, and there's patterns. You start seeing patterns amongst different leaders, and one of that is this idea of a servant-based leader. Like you, and I think this is an important point nowadays, because nowadays, I mean, I've seen this, Joe, in my neighborhood. If a kid is like, say, on the high school basketball team and he doesn't get what he wants, nowadays, you know what the parents do? They move him to a different school, or they take him to a private school, and they bump around 4 or 5 different private schools, which I guess sometimes is probably, it may be okay, but man, it gets out of hand. It's like their kids are mercenaries almost, you know, they're like shopping them around rather than sticking it out and fighting for your team, which is what you did. And you had to make a sacrifice to do it. They just quit and they go somewhere else. So that's kind of one of those old school values that I think nowadays we maybe lost a little bit. What do you think about that?
Absolutely. I mean, one thing that you know, so if you call my son right now, he'll tell you one of my favorite lines is something you start something, you don't finish it.
Love it.
That's the same thing that you did with your son. I was proud about that practice. Now, son, you might not come back tomorrow.
Yeah.
But you don't finish this practice today.
Yeah, you are.
You don't finish this practice today. Now you might go out there and get pushed down 4 or 5 times and lose, but that's okay. But you don't finish this practice.
You're gonna finish.
So that's the thing. So you said that, I was kind of smiling with this side, like, yeah, Brian from the old school like me, man. Yeah, you start something, you finish it.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so yeah, you might, you know, that's that day like we played, Brian. Look here, if you come to the gym, I might lose 9 games in a row, but you don't beat me number 10 too now.
Yeah.
You don't beat me game number 10 too. Yeah. So, but Brian, these kids don't have that mentality these days.
That's right.
So I'm just telling you as a parent, leave it alone.
Yeah.
If you don't want to start drinking or start doing drugs, leave it alone. I promise you, because they are not going to have our mentality.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. Like me, you can go play basketball right now.
Yeah.
You want to try to knock my head off?
For sure I am. Yeah. I'm going to try to get you with an elbow right in the head when I'm going up, and you're going to knock me down. I'm going to get back up and do it again.
Exactly. But as soon as we get off that 94 by 50, man, we're the best of friends again. We can have a beer. We can talk about our kids.
Yeah.
But we step on that 94 by 50, I'm sorry, bro. I'm trying to beat you.
That's what I told people, man. I thought I'd like to think I'm a pretty nice guy. It's the same way as a lawyer. When I step into the courtroom, I'm not there to be your friend. I'm there to kick your ass. Sorry.
Exactly. But that's the athlete thing, and that's that mentality that we have as athletes that people don't understand. Like, Joe, man, you a nice guy, but man, we playing dominoes. You was just, I'm sorry, man. I'm not losing to you. Now, so we get through playing domino, you want to sit out here and smoke a cigar and talk about our kids and talk about our wives and all that? That's good. But for right now, I'm trying to win.
We do the same thing in golf every week. It's like we have all these betting games, and now when I'm out there, I'm trying to kick all these guys' butts. But when we're done, we go and have a drink and shoot the bull and have a good time. But when I'm playing golf, man, I'm trying to beat you. I don't want you to, even if it's over $5, I want to win that thing. Well, that's a perfect transition, Joe, into one of the more famous stories in A&M basketball history, which happened in, I think, 1994 in Lubbock. A&M's
93.
93. A&M's playing Texas Tech, and we win a 1-point, real close game. And this is from my perspective. I want to hear it from your perspective too. But as the players are leaving the stands, some of the Texas Tech fans start yelling obscenities at Coach Baroni. They start yelling obscenities at his son, and then one of them tries to assault Coach Baroni, and that person learned a lesson very quickly, because I think the fan that went after Baroni ended up getting knocked out cold by a guy named Joe Wilbert III. So tell us about from your perspective what that was like.
People have asked me about this story many times, and I tell them the same thing. It was like, I just seen, Brian, I grew up in the era, during the era that if I go somewhere with you, if you get into a fight, I'm in a fight.
Yeah.
I grew up in the era that, hey, if I go somewhere with you and we go eat and I got $5 in my pocket and you got $2 in my pocket, so we put our money together and we eat.
Yeah.
So that's what I felt about my basketball family. And I seen Coach Brown them having a little trouble. So I went over there and I just did what I need to do. And it's so fun. I tell people all the time, I said, that was the first time I ever went to jail.
What?
People don't know. Yeah, people don't know that. Yeah, exactly. People don't know I went to jail for this.
Are you kidding me? No way.
Yes, people don't know this. I went to jail. What happened was, I'm gonna tell a story. The police, so the police came into the locker room with the guy. He said, "That's the one that hit me." So they were trying to, so they were trying to make a decision on taking me to jail at the moment or whatever. So we stayed in the locker room for like about an hour after the game, hour and a half.
Yeah.
So we sitting down, so they trying to debate if I'm going to jail or not. So anyways, so we leave. So we leave, and people sitting outside throwing stuff at the bus.
Yeah.
Going to our charter flight that we had. People throwing stuff at the bus and everything. And so, make a long story short, the grand jury looked at it and they assault, called and body injury. So I turned myself. It was after the basketball season. So campus police called me and said, "Hey, Joe, you got a warrant for your arrest." So meet us at the campus police office at 2:00. So me, the police officer from A&M campus, and Coach Roney, and I went to Brazos County. I turned myself in. Judge Langley, I think that was Judge Langley. She was a judge. I stayed in jail for 27 minutes.
Okay.
So I got booked and did the fingerprints and the whole shebang. So I never I went up the elevator, and then the detective said, "Now make sure you tell the judge, yes, Your Honor."
Yeah.
So I went up there. I said, "Yes, Your Honor." She said, "Mr. Wilbert, you've been a talk. You've been a talk in my courtroom all day." I said, "Yes, ma'am." I said, "Yeah, yes, Your Honor." She said, "Well, you got a assault, called and body injury in Lubbock, Texas." She said, "By law, I'm supposed to send you back to Lubbock, but I don't think you don't go anywhere. So I'm gonna let you out on a PR bond." And to this day, Brian, I still don't know what happened to my case.
Well, I can tell you as a lawyer, and I'm gonna use a technical legal term for everybody to describe this. Okay, what the Lubbock police did to you was complete and total bullshit. Okay, this is a hometown. This is a ridiculous arrest. I mean, literally, the Texas Tech fans should have all been arrested and taken to jail. They were throwing things. They were assaulting the players. And you know what? I have a lot of friends from Texas Tech, but Texas Tech has a reputation. Same thing when they drug the goalpost down and literally threw the goalposts at some of our fans in the stadium. This is the Lubbock Police Department's responsibility, and any police officer who's listening to this that was involved with anything involving Joe, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. Looking at the wrong, I'm serious, man. This pisses me off. I didn't know that happened. I'm glad it worked out the way it did, but this was you. This was truly self-defense and defense of the team. And of course, you know, when you're in a small town like Lubbock, sometimes the hometown cooking happens in a way that it shouldn't. And that's a perfect transition, Joe, to one question I wanted to talk to you about, which is a more serious conversation. And that is, you know, we're going through a lot of racial unrest, stuff with police brutality right now. And, you know, I've talked to some, and I tell people, Joe, I grew up playing basketball, which means I grew up around big black guys a lot. Yes. And I didn't even in my experience, and I count many black guys, big dudes, 6'5" and taller, as very good friends of mine. And even though I had very good friends like that, I did not appreciate sometimes the fact that when you're that big and intimidating looking, you got to behave a little bit differently. Like I have a friend who said, you know, if I go out running at Memorial Park in Houston tonight, I got to be really careful about, you know, what I'm doing because people are intimidated by me. So I really wanted to ask you this question, Joe, because you're a big, strong, intimidating guy. I mean, you smile all the time, which is good. But tell us from your perspective, kind of over the past 3 or 4 months, like how you're viewing some of this stuff, like the George Floyd situation, the Breonna Taylor situation, and some of these other situations.
Well, I've been more concentrated on my son.
Yeah.
When it comes to this, and I teach him the same thing that that my parents taught me, and I'm so glad that my parents taught me this. Everyone is not racist.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that my parents taught me that. But also they taught me more of this than anything. Love everybody.
Yeah.
To me, it don't matter what color you are, that doesn't matter. So what I'm doing now, I'm driving that to my son and say, son, if this person is racist, don't mean the next person is racist.
Yeah.
But it is kind of uncomfortable. Not only do I got to talk to my son about not having unprotected sex or having sex, I got to talk to him about if he get pulled over.
Yeah. Yeah.
That shouldn't be a conversation I should have with my son.
You know how many conversations, Joe, my son is 17, just turned 17 last week. We live in a very nice neighborhood in Houston. You know how many conversations I've had with him about what he's supposed to do when he gets pulled over by the cops? Zero. Because I don't have to do that.
And I told my son, I told my son, if the police tell you get out, son, and do 20 push-ups, get out and do 20 push-ups.
Yeah.
Do them, get back in the car, and call me and let me know what happened.
Yeah.
I said, son, this is exactly what I told him. So I go on record. I told my son, the police pull you over, let down your driver window and your passenger window. Turn your interior light on, put your hands on your steering wheel, and wait till he come and give you commands to move from there.
Yeah.
If he asks you to get your license, ask him, say, sir, can I reach for my license and get him there? That's how you communicate with him. That's how you communicate with him. So how you communicate with him, with the police officer. And so that's a conversation that I shouldn't have to have with my son.
Yeah.
But the times bring that on that that's what I have to do. That's the way times are. So I tell him, I say, son, listen to the police officer. Whatever he asks you to do, do it. If you want to search your car, let him search your car. Just do it. Because son, I want you to get home.
Yeah.
Now we had all the other legal stuff and the inappropriate behavior that he had later on. But at the end of the day, don't try to be a tough guy.
Yeah.
So I have, and me and him had this conversation several times, and actually I'm gonna call him today, and I'm actually have this conversation with him again because it's something that's very important. But at the end of the day, Brian, it doesn't. I'm glad that it doesn't change my mentality when it comes to my relationship with you.
Yeah.
Tony Baroni, Jimmy Smith, guys, Caucasian friends that I have that I know that don't have that mentality.
Yeah.
And just it's like everything else, man. It's just life.
Yeah.
It doesn't affect me because that same person, I'm gonna smile with them. I'm gonna shoot the breeze with them. Cause I tell people all the time, I'm 47 years old, and I never ever in my life met a stranger.
Yeah.
Never. I wake up every day saying I'm gonna find a stranger, and I can't find one.
I love that.
So it doesn't matter how people are. They can have a Trump and Pence flag on their car, or they have a Biden and Harrison flag. I'm gonna treat them still the same. It doesn't matter to me, because at the end of the day, when I face God, God is not gonna criticize me or punish me for the way they treated me.
Yeah.
He's gonna punish me the way I treated them. So that's the mentality that I have about everything about the day. So, bro, it's not like it's not like I don't want to go on record and say this cop was wrong in Minnesota or this cop was wrong in Louisville, Kentucky. That's at the end of the day, both families suffer.
Yeah.
Breonna Taylor family suffered as much as the cops family suffered.
Yeah.
So it's a bad situation. So both sides of the situation is bad. I just hope and pray that we can just get back as a country, that we can just be like, it doesn't matter what color we are. Yeah. We're all Americans. Because, man, that's one thing about us, man. We have been a strong country. We went through 9/11 to all type of stuff. Yeah. So I know we can do it. And I'm not sitting on here saying it's Trump's fault. I'm not saying it's Obama's fault. I'm not saying it was George Bush's fault. It's at the end of the day, it's about us as people. Yeah. Got to get it right. Yeah. Because we are the United States of America. Because, Brian, I can't influence you to be a certain way, Captain. So I can't blame my mentality on Obama, or I can't blame my mentality on Trump.
It's got to be on you. Yeah.
Yeah, I got to be me. Because that was the case, then you know what? I'm not taking Brian interview today because he's Caucasian. That'd have been stupid. That'd have been stupid of me.
Yeah.
No, but you know why? Because that's not my mentality.
Yeah.
So your mentality tells the truth about you. You know, people say, well, I hear people all the time, well, now I know how my friends feel now because, you know, Facebook, people put a lot of negative stuff on Facebook. Some people say, well, now I know how my friends feel. I tell people all the time, to a certain extent, we all are racist to a certain extent.
Yeah.
We all are racist. Like, I might feel like, well, Brian is more privileged than me.
Yeah.
Or Brian might say, hey, you know, well, he's a black, well, you know, he's a better athlete because he was black. You know, so to a certain, but I'm not at a point of racist where I'm not racist to the point as I just hate a certain color.
Yeah.
Now, I might have racist thoughts about, well, Brian got the job over me because he's white.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if that can be racist or not. It's just a mentality that we have. Or I might say, hey, but vice versa. I mean, you might say something about me that people might not think is racist. But I thought I'd never say this, but the University of Texas coach put it the best by his statement he made about that on Saturdays, you know what I'm saying? That we'll cheer for the black athletes, but also let's have that same respect for them off the court, off the field as well.
See, that's something that's bothered me for a while is we look up to these athletes, many of whom are black.
Yeah.
And they're heroes on Friday night or Saturday or Sunday. But afterwards it's like, well, now we forget about them. You know, in some ways it's what we do with some of the military veterans. When they're over there in combat, they're heroes, and then they come back and they have problems and they need help, and we forget about them. And so, you know, Joe, and I don't know what you think about this, but the way I think about race now is as follows. I'm looking at you on video right now, okay? Mm-hmm. I can tell you're black. I can tell your skin's darker than mine. You can tell I have blonde hair. I just don't think it means anything as far as whether you're a good or a bad person, right? And I know plenty of black guys that are great guys, but not all of them are great guys. And just like you know plenty of white dudes that are probably great guys, but some of them aren't great guys. So the point is, you know, my view is that the pigment of your skin shouldn't have anything to do with the content of your character, whether you're a good or bad person. And so I try to tell people that I base my decisions on whether I like somebody or not, on whether they're a good person or not. And that's it, right?
And bro, you know the fun thing about me and you?
What's that?
I mean, you are in the same boat. We have the toughest because, for example, let me just give you an example. Say I'm with some of my black buddies.
Yeah.
Say we at Bombshell. And I see you, hey, Brian, what's going on, Baba? Hey, you doing all right? And they be like, I mean, you talk to the white guy, like, and vice versa with you.
Yeah, yeah.
Because you know why? Because we are so versatile and we been so used to dealing with both cultures. To us, it's like, I don't look at it being a white guy.
It ain't no big deal. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That's just my buddy over there, man. What's going on? That's my man. That's my guy. Yeah.
So me and you catching more of a popular heat than anybody else because some people, like some of my guys I grew up with have never ever dealt with a Caucasian person ever in their life.
Exactly.
Now I'm talking about not. The only way they dealt with them is probably through a job interview, and that's it. But as dealing with them, as going out to eat with them, and like in our case, man, we sweated together and fought together, and they are not used to that, so they looking at it like, say, no, he's a good dude, man. He's a down to earth person. But so I mean, you catch it more probably tougher than in our friend does because
I'll give you a great example of this, Joe. And I've told this story before. When I joined the Corps of Cadets after I stopped playing basketball, I had some friends that grew up in small towns that had never been around a single black person their entire life. And they were dropping N-bombs left and right, using the N-word. And I turned to them and I said, stop saying that shit around me. You want to say that when I'm not around, you can say that when I'm not around, but that's not the way I grew up. I don't like hearing that. And they looked at me like I was crazy.
Yeah.
Because nobody had ever said that to them before. And it's not that they were bad people. It's not that I was any better than anybody else. It's just that we had different life experiences. So when they were growing up, they just didn't know any better, you know? And it's the same thing. Like, I think people don't realize that there's black folks that have never been around white folks either. You know, they just, and so I've always felt, Joe, you know, to be totally honest with you, I've always felt kind of lucky about my experience because it didn't, I could have grown up in a different way. And, you know, I think part of it was the fact that my father was a college athlete. He played football at A&M for 2 years and he was in the military, which is a very neutral organization when it comes to race and things like that. And so I just feel kind of lucky about the way I was raised because not
me too, man, because I don't like racist people. Yeah. I don't like it because it don't stand for nothing for me. Being racist don't make you a tough individual.
To me, it just makes you ignorant.
Yeah, just like, man, wow. You just like because I'm black or I just like because you're white. I don't see any logic in that.
Yeah.
But anyway, leading to probably something that you want to talk about is officiating. Do you know the toughest game for me to referee is?
What's that?
Brian?
Black team against the white team, right? Because the white fans think you're rooting for the black players, right?
And the black people think you paid me before the game.
So that's a perfect transition because Joe, I want to talk about we've gone a little bit over our time. You got a few more minutes?
Yeah, no, man. I don't got nothing to do.
Okay, man. Okay, I got this because this is something I really wanted to bring up with you because I think this is something that is important that we think about as a country. So I listened to this. So I've been coaching, you know, youth basketball for 12 years, 13 years, something like that, going to all these games. And I see a lot of fans just acting like complete insane, crazy people towards the refs. So anyway, did I lose you? There you are.
No.
Anyway, I listened to this podcast about a year ago about NBA officials. And essentially the podcast talked about all the training and all the reviews they do and about how, you know, 30 years ago, something like half the NBA officials were from one small town in, you know, New York or something like that. But the point of the deal was the training, the professionalism, the grading, all the work that the fans don't see. It totally changed my mind about
Yes.
how I deal with the refs. Now, after every single game, I've got a new habit for 2 or 3 years. After every single game, I don't care whether we won or lost. I walk over to the refs and I say, "Hey, good job, guys. Good job, girls," or whoever it was reffing the team. So, tell us. I really want to hear about your perspective because you're now a college official. I assume you've coached lower levels too. So, what's it like being a basketball official nowadays?
You have to have tough skin. You have to have tough skin. Then also, but also you have to also be a college basketball official or any type of official. You have to also know how to evaluate yourself and as saying, is I'm good or am I bad? And now, do we miss calls as official? Yes, we do. But we can't miss 2 and 3 calls in one game. That's not good. So, but being to be honest with you, I'll tell you how I got started. You remember Jimmy Gilbert and Lynn Super?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Well, they wanted me to start officiating probably 3 or 4 years before I started. So they should tell me every year, "Joe, man, come referee." I was like, "Man, I'm not refereeing, man. Referees are guys who couldn't play basketball after school. That's all who referees are. Yeah. They just guys who could not play and just wanted just to take advantage of a guy like me and foul me out the game." So then they were like, every year they asked me, I was like, "Nah, I ain't coming out." Then one year I came out. The first game I ever refereed ever in my life was Temple Junior College in San Jack.
Nice.
First game I ever refereed ever in my life. When I put a whistle in my mouth and I never took it out.
Really?
Never took the whistle out of my mouth again. So I've been refereeing since 2000.
What is it that you like about refereeing?
Just the fact of the excitement of the game.
Yeah.
Then it's the fact that I feel like I bring something to the game that no other official bring, and that's a former guy, that, and I'm not saying officials do this, but I know for a fact that when I go into a game, I'm going to give both teams a chance, an opportunity.
Yeah.
I don't care if they're home or visitors. So that's what I feel like I bring to the game. Now, all my other officials bring the same exact thing. I just think I bring a little bit better. Yeah. But I think I'm a better official than any official out there. But you know what? So that's the official say that he's better than me too, but that's just all about the competitiveness. But the fun thing about all that, but when we all out there together, we all work together.
Yep.
But as an official, man, I mean, I love it. I love dealing with coaches. I love dealing with players, and I love dealing with fans. But you have to have rabbit ears when you're a basketball official. You cannot listen to the fans.
Yeah, some of the things that are said to referees are so bad that I kind of slap myself on the head and go, man, I can't believe people are so rude and cruel. And the other thing is,
bro, I'm stopping you.
The NBA players complain far too much too, in my opinion. I mean, they complaining so dang much. I mean, play the game and quit looking at the referees all the time, guys.
This is so fun. I'm gonna say a racist joke. So I was refereeing the game one time, and it was during a timeout. So it was a white couple. Standing on the sideline. The sideline people sit around the court, right?
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there with the ball. He like, so the guy was being nice. He was like, "Hey, where you from?" I say, I live in Houston." So he said, "Hey man, how you deal with all this yelling and cussing from us?" I looked at him, and this dude turned as red you can think. When I said, "Look at man. I've been married to a black woman all my life, man. I'm used to all this yelling and cussing, man. This ain't nothing. I feel like I'm at home." And this guy, Brian, turned as red as you can turn. And his wife next to him just said, "See, that's what you get for asking questions." So I say that to say, man, hey, yelling and fussing at me, I just feel like I'm at home, man.
That reminds me of the joke. You ever heard the joke about the old guy and his wife are driving down the road and they get pulled over by the cops? And the cops kind of looking in the window and he points to the wife and says, does your husband always drive this bad? And she goes, "Only when he's drunk."
Yes, indeed.
Well, Joe, let me ask you this question real quick, because there may be some young people, there probably are some young people that are listening to the show right now that have an interest in being either a basketball referee or an umpire or an NFL referee or stuff like that. So what advice would you have for people that want to get into that kind of work? What's the best way to get into that kind of work?
Well, the best way to get in, you got to start in high school.
Yeah.
So find your local high school chapter. So like here in Houston have one. Then also Fort Bend have a chapter as well.
Nice.
And also the Bay Area, out there, Baytown and all of them, they have a chapter. So them the 3 chapters. So find what area that you live in. Then try to get in touch with the signing secretary or somebody of the area, so you can sign up. So you start taking classes and start doing the training as refereeing games.
Yeah.
And I start off the same way. I mean, some people start off just doing little junior high games, and so now some people do this for a living.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I said, but you have to start in high school because, I was just fortunate enough to start off. My first game was a college game, but trust me, the game was over my head.
Yeah.
I was not good enough to do the game.
Yeah.
I just happened to be out there.
Yeah. Do you have any desire to maybe officiate at a higher level?
No. I got invited to the NBA program back in 2003.
Yeah.
I got no desire to do NBA. I want to do college basketball because of the passion and the love for the game.
For sure.
I honestly believe that if I was an NBA official, I'm just more babysitting LeBron James and James Harden.
Good point.
Trying to keep them guys in the games. And
good point.
Because you think about it, at that level, Brian, if I foul them guys out too many times, I ain't gonna last too long in that league.
That's for sure. No doubt about that. That is a totally different level.
Yeah, that's a whole different.
I hadn't thought about it that way, but you're right. That's a totally different.
Yeah, that's a whole different animal, and that's an animal that I don't want to battle with every night. I got buddies that referee in the NBA. Nothing against them, but I love college basketball. So they came to me today and say, "Hey, Joe, this is your last year refereeing. Or you know what, Joe? It's your last game you ever referee. You're like, what game you want to do?" And I say, "Hey, man, give me game 7." No, they said, "Well, Joe, take game 7 of NBA Finals or take the NCAA championship game." I take the NCAA championship game 10 out of 10 times. Nice.
Well, Joe Wilbert III, man, it's so nice to see you. It's been a while since we've seen each other in person.
Yeah, I know it has. So that's a good thing, man. I mean, I ain't in no trouble, man.
That's why I tell people, they're like, I'm a lawyer, but I'm not the lawyer you really want to call, right? Like something's bad if you're calling me, but man, seriously, Joe, it's great to see you. And, one of the main reasons I wanted to have you on the podcast is because you're just, like you said earlier, you've never met a stranger. You're just a really fine person. You've got a great family. You have a great reputation with just about everybody I know, probably other than that Texas Tech fan knocked out cold. But you know what? He deserved it. So Joe, it's been a real pleasure. I'm glad we finally got a chance to do this. And I hope next time we're in College Station, we can get together and play dominoes and shoot the bull, man.
And then it's funny you talked about that guy. I've been looking for that guy. Scott. His name is Scott Patterson.
Yeah.
I wish I could meet him and just have a conversation with him and just say, hey, man, it wasn't no ill will at the time. It was just, I was a young man and I just felt like the need that, hey, man, that was something I need to do at the time. But I would just love to meet him. I would love to meet that. So if you can, so that could be one of your shows in the future.
I'm going to make it happen.
Yeah. I think his name is Scott Patterson. I think that's his name.
Probably a super nice guy now, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'd be glad to meet him in this. That'd just be awesome to meet him. Not meet him. I mean, my fist hasn't met him. I need to meet him now.
Joe, man, it's awesome to see you. As always,
good to see you, man. I appreciate you, Brian, having me on your show, man. And the same words that you said to me, I think the same thing about you, man. You always been a guy that never looked at us as being, black, or whatever. You just always been one of them guys that's just a great guy, man, you know, and so you hate to have to say things like that today, but you have to let people know that, man, it's important to have people like you in my life to just know that, hey, you know, if I got any issue, not legal issues, but issues, I can call Brian and not worry about him judging me because he know, some things that I face. And I can't say that about everybody.
I really that means more to me, Joe, than I can tell you. That really does. And I sincerely hope you know that anything you ever need, you can call me. And frankly, I know that I can call you too. So
yeah.
You're a
well,
great
just call me when you're ready to build an 8,000 square feet house, your last 8,000 square feet house. Call
You
me.
got it, man. I'm calling you up.
All right, man.
All right, brother.
Appreciate you, man. Love you.
You got it. You too, man.